But there's another imaging study that came out, and you can pull it up on the web, by a man named Epley, E-P-L-E-Y, University of Chicago, Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Paper should pull up. And what they did is the following. They were doing imaging studies, and when you talked about your attitude for something, let's say I'm talking about my attitude towards homosexual marriage. Okay? And now we look at what I think God's attitude towards homosexual marriage is, and we image that. And I think about what Hans' attitudes are about homosexual marriage. Well, a particular area of the brain lights up when we think about my attitude. A different area of the brain lights up when we think about when I think about Hans' attitude. Now, what area of the brain do you think lights up when I think about God's attitude? Well, I would assume that it would be the same area when I'm thinking about what Hans' attitude is, because it has to do with another being, another person, so to speak. That's what I would assume. But what Epley and his group showed, that it's your own area of the brain. So when I think about my attitude, a certain area lights up. When I think about God's attitude, the same area lights up. So it has something to do with our beliefs in God and what's going on in God's mind being a pure projection of what's going on in our mind. And I think that is one of the things that probably creates the resistance that you were alluding to in your question.
So they have literally found evidence for and experimentally tested the adage that we make God in our own image.
And God has our thoughts. God is really an embodiment of our attitudes, our beliefs, our desires. And the extraordinary thing about Epley's work is that when they then manipulated the belief of the individual subject, it shifted God's attitudes in the same way. Again, it's just, I think it's wonderful science.
Yeah.
And
this is why, even there are so many thousands of churches, conveniently in that church, the God that they worship absolutely agrees with everything that they...
And now we see, and again, and science shows us how, down to the neural networks. That again, to me, is just so extraordinary. And to me, obviously I'm biased, that study should have been front page New York Times.